Hello everyone. Today we're gonna do a breakdown of all the clothing to wear for a long distance through hike, or really for any backpacking. Basically, this is for like an Appalachian Trail through hiker, but it could also be applied to Pacific Crest Trail, Continental Divide Trail, or pretty much any other backpacking outside of winter. My name is Blake. I've been lucky enough to hike over 20,000 long distance hiking miles, including 2 full through hikes of the AT, northbound and southbound. And then I've also created and completed a 3,000 mile route connecting 13 national parks from Yellowstone to the Grand Canyon.
And my name is Elizabeth, and this past summer I successfully completed a through hike up the Appalachian Trail. And today we're going to talk about the clothing that we wore when we hiked on the AT, including a full breakdown in the comments of the price of each item and the links to purchase them or something similar. So if you find this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and consider joining the Patreon, which will all be linked in the video description below. So let's get started, and we'll start from head to toe. Okay, so our first category is going to be headwear. So I wore this Patagonia duckbill hat for the entirety of the trail, started with it, ended with it. I had a lot of success with this hat. I will say I randomly chose it at REI. It was the one I thought looked best. But really liked it. It's super lightweight, dries very quickly. It's got kind of this like mesh material in the back. So like very breathable, lots of ventilation. And then it has this like tiny little bill. My friends always said I looked like a Boy Scout or something. Like it just like is kind of a weird shape, but it's nice because it's like not in your face too much, and but still provides some protection. But yeah, highly recommend this hat. I feel like any hat kind of works, but I liked this one just because of its like.
You carried it the whole way?
I carried it the whole way.
And
yes.
you would throw it in the washing machine?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, and the dryer.
Nice.
Yeah, held up through both. For colder weather, I used this North Face beanie. I've had this for a few years. It's still in really good shape. Used this the whole trail as well, mostly just at camp at nighttime. If it was really cold, like in the morning, sometimes I'd wear it just to like start the day and get warmed up. But yeah, also washed it in the washer, dried it in the dryer, held up very well the entire time. Yeah, again, any beanie will kind of work, frankly, but I kind of like this knit material. Like it stays really warm. I had friends that used kind of a like lighter weight, not like this like heavy wool, but like a synthetic kind of thing, and it didn't quite work as well for them. So something like wool, I feel like it's gonna work pretty well. And then the only other thing for headwear is gonna be sunglasses. So these are Gooders. They're like $25. Definitely the like cheap option. But super helpful in terms of like if you lose them or they get broken, high probability of that on trail. Easy to replace. Most outfitters carry Gooders. And then the only thing with these is I would not get the polarized lenses because they will rub off very quickly, and it just looks kind of weird. So buy the Gooders without the polarized lenses. Or
yeah. So do you think it matters really, like for sunglasses, or?
No, the AT is like, I was gonna say, yeah, the AT is kind of like shady. I just mostly use them in town.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think really a lot of times sunglasses, like obviously you have a prescription or something, it'll make a big difference. But really anything that's like has like UV blocking like properties, probably a good idea to carry them. And beyond that, maybe it doesn't matter. I'll go into a little bit more detail though.
Yeah, sure. And yeah, these are like meant for athletic performance or whatever. So like they stay on your face really well. They're not, if you're really sweaty, they're not going to slide around. I really only use these in town, and if it was like we were on like an open bold or something and it was sunny, but yeah, since the AT is so green and shady, it's like I didn't really wear them too much on trail. But
cool.
Yeah,
fair enough. All right, so now I am going to talk about kind of headwear stuff. So I'll just go ahead and put my glasses on my head. This is like a lot of times how I'll walk around if it's a little bit colder. Actually, usually not. I do sometimes, like first I have a buff on, and this is a Buff brand buff. Although the cheap generic ones I find are good too. A lot of times I will kind of vary things up. Like I'll either wear it like this, so it covers the ears and you can have a little bit of warmth. Also in like windy conditions, it can keep your hat on. So if you're on top of a mountain or something, you have your hat on. Also combining it with the sun hoodie, which we'll talk about later, kind of gives a lot of options, right? Because right now I have both of them up, or I could just go and take the buff down so that I have just this, or I can like, take both of them down and then take the buff off. And I find that system for me works extremely well because some days, you know, you're going in and out like sun and then shade. So like the temperature difference could be pretty high. Probably not as true on the AT as like some other trails like in the West because you're like at a, you know, like in the morning, maybe it's like super shady on certain like aspects, but then you go and other aspects are really sunny. But again, you can kind of adjust at your like kind of heat tolerance like all the time, and I find that super helpful. Also, I have a hat on. I usually just wear a random like baseball hat. Like this is a Walk the Parks one, but like I don't know. I haven't had just one that fits okay is the only thing I really look for. My only tip for hats is really like if you want to keep them, like her hat was more like malleable, but if this hat has structure to it, if you want to keep the structure, just make sure to wash them by hand. Like if you throw them in the washer, it'll get like super deformed and stuff. And like some people don't care about that, but for other people, maybe you want to keep a hat with structure, which is like I prefer to do. So just wash it. Like you can just use like dish soap and like wash your hat like that. Sunglasses kind of feel the same way Elizabeth does. Like for the most part, it doesn't matter too much unless you have like prescription glasses or some sort of like super sensitive eyes or something like that. However, I have kind of experimented with a bunch of different like lenses and stuff. I do really like Oakley lenses. I like the Prism, or like I think Smith has something that's similar where it like kind of alters the colors. Like, and it's just, I don't know the exact technology behind it, but it's like they're really cool compared to a lot of other glasses. And for me, I kind of have a larger head, so I just need to have like a little bit like larger pair of sunglasses. So these are like Oakley Holbrook XL, I think they're called. But then something else I've been experimenting with, I don't like the lenses as much on these, but everything else I like better than the Oakleys. These are Pepper Sea Dwellers, or Peppers Sea Dwellers, and they're a little bit more reasonable on the like nice glasses front. I think these are like $60 or something like that. But the cool part, as if you can see, is that they have like this kind of extra piece on here to block the sun, and I find that super helpful if you have sensitive eyes, because like a lot of times if you're wearing like normal sunglasses and the sun is behind you, it can kind of go in and reflect like back on your eyes, and for me that's really annoying. I do have pretty sensitive eyes, so I find if I wear these with the kind of blocking things on the side, and then there's the sun blocking things on the top a little bit too, that it actually is really helpful in like the desert or like the West. And I really like these. There are several companies that offer other glacier glasses that are similar or have like significant additional like coverage, but those tend to be a lot more expensive. So consider these. I kind of found these randomly. If you have other like ones you found that are like this, please send them my way. I think these are really cool and like actually worth the not having like the Prism type of technology. So lastly, I do bring just a beanie. This is like kind of a random one from the Grand Canyon. It's one of my favorite places. So I mean, this is just a regular like nylon like synthetic hat. You were kind of suggesting wool. Sometimes I will bring a smart wool hat or something like that. Or this weighs like an ounce more for the high fashion awards. Kind of going
Super important on trail.
trying to be as stylish as possible at camp. In my sleeping bag, like the only place I wear this.
All those mosquitoes that see you.
Yeah. But I'll wear this. I'll almost never wear this hiking because I do have a tendency to sweat a lot. Maybe like in the morning for like the first 5 minutes. But I would just really caution you wearing anything heavy in the morning. That first 5 minutes, sometimes it can be annoying to like take your pack off, but man, take it off before you start sweating because you do not want to get stuff like your hat and puffy wet. So anyway, that's pretty much headwear. And we'll move on to like our tops next.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about stuff we wore in our upper body. So I'm kind of going to start lightest to heaviest. So for most of the trail, I wore this Prana tank top. It does have a built-in bra. I took the padding out of it though, because it was like kind of uncomfortable and annoying to deal with. But yeah, for most of the trail, I'd say from around like 500 miles through the end, this is what I wore because it was really hot. I found it really comfortable. I like to wear like not very much on my top because I get really warm. But there are some downsides to wearing a tank top on trail, especially if you're carrying a backpack, because it will rub, like the shoulder straps are going to rub on you. the hip straps are gonna rub on you a little bit. So just consider that when you're choosing your options.
I mean, but it's kind of like, it's kind of goes both ways. I guess the skin exposed might make it a little worse. But if you're like on the AT or on the East Coast, like chafing is almost unavoidable if it gets like real hot or whatever.
So humid,
but that's a good point what you're saying though.
Yeah, so like, I don't know. I also tried using like a t-shirt for like a few days too, like just a like Patagonia like quick dry t-shirt, and that was okay, but I just like didn't really care for it. It's not super comfortable for me. So I switched to this and I really liked it. I still wear it now. Next up, this is a Jolly Gear sun shirt. So I got this, I think, I don't know, like a few weeks into trail, because one of the guys in my family had one and we were all influenced by him to buy them. So our whole crew had them at one point.
Had the Jolly Gear?
Yeah, we were all matching.
All right. With the green too?
No, they were different ones, yeah. But yeah, this one I got on sale because the back is like rubbing off, so they had these all discounted. But I really liked this shirt a lot. Like, super comfortable, very lightweight, easy to throw on top of.
And that's buttoned
like,
down?
It's buttoned down, and it has a hood in the back. It's got a little, like, ponytail hole, too. So if you got a ponytail, you can put it through there. It's buttoned down.
You used the ponytail hole, and it worked well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got thumb holes on the side too. So this was great. Like in the mornings, I could throw it on if I wasn't quite ready. Like it was still a little chilly, I'd put this on over top. If it was like really, really sunny and like I wanted to cover up a little bit, I would put this on. It's like, I mean, it stays pretty cool. And then at camp too, like great, just like all purpose. Like I would wear it in town if it was like the cleanest thing I had and I was doing laundry. But yeah, super versatile. I carried this like almost the whole way, I think. Yeah.
What about what you're wearing now?
Yeah, this would be what I wore before I got this thing. So the first, I guess, month or so on trail, it was still a little bit chilly, especially walking through the Smokies and stuff like that, where it was raining a lot. So I would wear this as just a base layer, with sometimes this underneath or just a sports bra underneath. But also this is merino wool, so it's, you know, relatively quick dry. It's not going to smell very bad. Stays warm, good at moisture wicking. But yeah, once it got too warm, I just sent it home and then I don't get it back. But.
And then before we get to mid layers, so like you carried all of that stuff the whole way, or did you get rid of like that shirt?
I got rid of this one and kind of replaced it with this one.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just wanted something that had sleeves because I get cold kind of easily. So yeah, once it got too warm for this, I switched.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then now mid layers?
Mid layers, yeah. So I got Patagonia R1 Air quarter zip. This is the men's version, I think. I did carry this the entire way, like started with it, finished with it. I really like this one. Honestly, I feel like any lightweight fleece is kind of going to do the job, but like this one, it like held up really well.
Yeah, I agree. That also, the R1 Air is my absolute favorite too. But there's tons of other options though. But this it's so nice because it breathes and it's warm and it dries fast. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah. And
expensive though.
It is, yeah. I mean,
Patagucci.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah, no, I really like this one. I would wear it at camp. Usually I tried to keep this one like in my bag and not wear it hiking so that it would be like warm and not like wet when I got to camp. But there were some times like in the whites where I would get really cold and threw this on, or like in Maine, up in Maine, it got a little chilly and I would hike in this and it was like so comfortable to hike in. And yeah, like I still wear this now. I had to wash it 6 or 7 times after trail to like get the smell out, but it's still really comfortable and like
I won't test it.
Yeah, you don't need to. It's fine. You can trust me. But yeah, no, I like this one a lot.
Cool. And then you have a puffy too?
I do have a puffy. Also Patagonia.
Or other, like, so that's the only mid layer you brought though.
Yep.
All right. Hey, Elizabeth, did you ever wear all your clothes to get like all of them together? Like you have that shirt and like the tank top and like, did you wear them all like layered ever while you're hiking?
Not
or
really. Unless it was really cold out and I was like really freezing, then no. Like,
so what would be the, like obviously you talked about temperature, but it like in town or when you slept or something, what would you wear? Or, like
when I would layer all of them?
Or no, like just what was your, like did you wear, like when you slept, would you just sleep in your like base layer or would you sleep?
Yeah. And when I had this, I just slept in this. When I like in the summer, I would sleep in either like just my tank top. When it got a little bit colder, I would sleep in this and like leggings.
Okay.
But yeah, that's it would kind of mix it up, honestly, just like what was driest and like what felt like comfortable temperature wise.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then yeah, next up would be the puffy, also Patagonia. It's the Nano Puff with the hood.
Nano Puff. That's synthetic, right?
Synthetic, yes.
Okay, cool.
So big fan of this one as well. Like adjusts to your body temperature really fast, so it warms you up really well. Mostly just wore this at camp, not really to hike in ever, and in town as well. But like,
yeah,
so nice when you're like you get to camp and you're really cold.
Cold night sleep in too. Would you wear it?
Yeah, sometimes if it was really chilly. I also in the summer used it as a pillow. Like just shoved this in like a stuff sack, and then it like works really well as a pillow. Yeah, it's nice. Zipper all the way up, and then the hood was nice, especially at night.
How do you feel about down versus synthetic, or do you have an opinion, you think, or you just use that and it worked, or?
I don't know if I have an opinion on that necessarily. I think that like it's a little bit lighter weight, and then like I don't know, it works just as well, and it's easier to like dry out.
Okay.
But, I don't know. If you want something a little bit warmer, maybe down, but I don't know.
Cool.
Personal preference, I suppose.
All good.
And then I guess the last thing for like hiking would be the raincoat. So this is the Patagonia Torrent Shell. I use this the whole way as well. I did have to re-waterproof it at one point, but just towards the end I like did that just because it was kind of soggy up north.
And I'm sorry, what brand is it?
Patagonia.
Patagonia. Yeah. And is it like Gore-Tex, or is it like the Patagonia house brand or whatever? Like H2No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like this a lot. I would wear this hiking quite a bit, honestly.
Where hiking?
Yeah. In the Smokies, it was raining a lot, where then would just throw it over like either just the tank top or with the jolly gear on top.
Okay.
But yeah, I liked it a lot. It's got pit zips.
Cool. You a pit zip fan? Would you use those a lot?
Yeah, because it does like heat you up pretty quickly.
Yeah, you gotta have pit zips open. Almost always.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Yep. I just got the small in this, and that worked pretty well, like layering over stuff.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, I still use this now. It's held up.
Did it ever?
Well.
You said you re-waterproofed it. Mm-hmm. Did you ever notice when it rained a lot that it would just wet through? Because like.
No, not really.
No.
Like, honestly, no.
Okay.
Yeah, like it held up pretty well.
Okay.
Just like after I got up trail, I re-waterproofed because I wanted to make sure it would still work. But yeah, no, it didn't really ever like seep through or anything. Maybe like a little bit on the ends, but like that wasn't super bothersome or anything.
Okay.
Fine. Yeah.
That's fantastic. You started with that new on the trail?
Yep.
No? Okay, cool. All right.
Do you want me to do my in-town stuff too?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay, so that was all trail.
That's
all right. So now,
stuff.
What do you mean? So this is you just wore this in town?
Pretty much. Yeah.
So like to do laundry, or what was the deal?
Yeah. So I had this like one black tank top that I wore, in town, and then sometimes to sleep in the summer if it was like super hot and I like didn't want to wear anything else. And then just a sports bra that sometimes I would alternate with the tank top and would wear under this in town, and then also sometimes just to like sleep in if I wanted to. But I sent both of these home eventually because I was like, I don't really need them that much, but kind of nice to have like a little bit of a luxury item.
Yeah, not too big or anything or heavy.
No, they're super lightweight and easy to carry, so like not a huge hindrance, but
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, now I'm going to go through all of the clothes that I would wear on the top. And also I have some they're all piled up on Elizabeth here, but we'll go through, and I have some alternatives for stuff too. So first and foremost, hiking shirt. I almost always wear just a sun hoodie. Like this is an Arc'teryx one. It doesn't really matter. I do like the Arc'teryx hoods, but everything kind of changes season to season. Honestly, they have some at like freaking Sam's Club that cost like $20. If they fit you okay, I mean, go for that. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. They're all going to end up smelling horrendous over, if you think you're not going to smell on a thru hike, like think again. So just get used to the reality of that. But anyway, I do like thumb holes because they do kind of keep it warm, a little bit warmer. You said did you use yours a lot?
Yeah, for sure.
And so I do like that, but a lot of times I'll hike without them too. But I will also, like, as I was showing, with the buff up, and then also like maybe put the hood over and wear it like this if it's cold. Or it's nice because you can like constantly adjust. I like the buff, like especially you know, the AT, sometimes you'll be like up on a ridge line and it's really windy, so maybe I'll pull the buff up and have the hood up. Or it gets, you know, then it gets a little bit warmer, so like take that down and then kind of take the buff down and take the buff off. It's nice to be able to kind of like be able to easily and quickly adjust to like a bunch of different things, you know, and again, like the hand loops in or out depending on like temperature. I do prefer to stay completely covered. I think I have a different approach than Elizabeth a little bit.
Kind of opposite.
Yeah, like in that. And I go back and forth, like, to be honest. Like, I do enjoy sometimes when it's really hot, just being able to be able to breathe. But then it's like, oh man, I get sunburnt sometimes and it's just terrible. And I find dealing with like sunscreen too, it just becomes this weird, like no matter what you do, every trail, it eventually becomes like a weird goopy mix of like body odor, sweat and dirt. Yeah, it's like this disgusting mixture. So, but then it's also like sunburn. And then I do find sometimes that I have sensitive skin, you guys. So I'm kind of sensitive in that way. But I do kind of get some reactions from like poison ivy. Actually, last time I had poison ivy, it was really funny. I went to the pharmacist, was like, do you have anything to treat that? And she goes, you need to go to the ER immediately. And so I did. So that was kind of weird. But anyway, so I do kind of try to keep covered up. And it does kind of go both ways, because like it can be cooler, but again, then you're dealing with that messiness. But then this can also, you know, there's some claim, like a lot of like countries where it is very deserty, they all wear like kind of big, loose, fully covering clothing, because your body like creates a microclimate inside. But anyway, you'll figure out what works for you. Sun hoodies are really nice. I would suggest maybe starting with that and kind of going from there, because then you can like minimize down to like tank top style, or keep this like, but this would be a good, like, you know, you kept yours for the whole way too, right? The sun hoodie. So one other thing, I almost always send this in to a company called Insect Shield, and you can send in your clothes and get them treated with permethrin. You can also buy permethrin at like Walmart or whatever and treat them yourself. But the difference is, if you buy it at a store and spray it on yourself, it's predicted to last something like 3 to like 7 or 5 washes, but they claim up to 70 if you send it in, so it is worth it. I've had really good luck sending it into Insect Shield. I think they charge like $10 or something per, and especially on the AT. I mean, I'll send like lots of stuff in because there's so many ticks and stuff. See, I'm scared of that too. So then, and it can be like, I've experienced it in like the Sierras and some other places, and on the AT, where like people are getting destroyed by mosquitoes, and I'm just kind of like hanging out. That's like cool. And it's like it honestly is like a halo effect of like no mosquitoes.
The little like no-see-ums on the trail on the AT are kind of intense.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, that's a big tip that I really like. They do sell their own brand of clothing too, Insect Shield does. I've never tried any of it. Ex Officio too used to have like a line of like Insect Shield clothing. I have bought like that stuff too, and it worked pretty well. But anyway, so I really would recommend treating with Insect Shield. Totally worth it. So that's my shirt. That was the longest way possible to say all that. But I pretty much just wear this. I don't really vary it up too much. I'm sorry, everything is here. All right, so now we'll talk a little bit about mid layers. My favorite, I have like a long-lasting like obsession with gear, I guess, or maybe I'm a denying hoarder, and I have a lot of things. Elizabeth probably has her own opinion that she doesn't want to share. So anyway, my absolute favorite though to the top is the R1 Air, same as Elizabeth. I just love it. I rock the hooded version because I just find always, just for me, adding a hood, it's just a little bit more weight, but it adds a ton more versatility, like, because it can provide that warmth over your head. So like I said, then you can have your buff up, you can have this hood up, and then if you're wearing your mid layer, you can have that up. I, for the most part, just try to hike in this, just in my base layer. If you do sweat a lot, like I'm definitely a person who does sweat a lot. One of the awesome things about this is it does dry really fast. But I do kind of try to avoid hiking in it some, because you don't really want it to be like super wet. But that said, it does dry out pretty quick. So R1 Air is just amazing. So I want to show it, like, just talk about a couple of alternatives. Like this is one from OR. you know, it kind of has like the kind of like waffle material on the inside and like the material on the on the outside. But again, I mean, I typically prefer full zip for my what do you had? You had like a half zip or a quarter
Yeah,
zip
it's
or
a quarter
whatever.
zip, yeah.
Okay, I tend to prefer full zip just because then you can like ventilate a lot, but you are always adding like a little bit extra. Another tip though for like budget people is you can buy 100 weight fleece, like, and it's, you can get it cheap, like just a regular fleece that you find at like a thrift store or like Walmart or something. You can honestly, like, sometimes I mean, I guess it's not quite as cool as a Patagonia R1 Air, but honestly, like a 100 weight fleece can be amazing.
Yeah.
Like, and they can be so freaking cheap. So
yeah, get the job done.
consider that too. Like, you don't necessarily have to spend the money. Like, you might get it'll be a little bit better, but like not that much. And most of the stuff you're taking on a long distance hike is going to get absolutely ravaged. Like, like I try to be really careful, but like if you're a person who's like, oh yeah, you know, I'm going to cozy up to the fire, it's like your stuff is going to get destroyed by the embers in the fire. Like, there's like zero way around it, or it's just going to freaking stink no matter what.
Constant elements.
Yeah, you can wash it like 7 times every time, but it's gonna like I don't know. So consider the 100-gram fleece like too, because it's a good option.
Just throw it away.
Or like in way colder, you can get like 200-gram fleece, which is like pretty nice. Okay, so next I'm going to talk about puffies. So I strongly prefer synthetic. And the reason for that is I find down is just a pain to clean. And as I've mentioned a couple times, like I do sweat a lot. So I'm just like aware of that. So realistically everything, including my down, like, cause maybe at night I'll put on my down jacket if I'm wearing it in my sleeping bag or something, and I'll sweat overnight. And then, you know, and then over time, even if it's a little bit, you know, and then I also sometimes when it's really cold see people just rocking, like they're hiking in their puffy, and it like, oh man, it terrifies me because I know not all of them are like those freak people who just like don't sweat at all, like, because they could maybe pull that off. But for the most part, you really, really, really want to try your best to keep your puffy dry, because if you get to camp and it's like you're cold, you know, sure, you do have your sleeping bag to get into, but man, having that dry puffy is like worth, like, oh my god,
it's the best feeling in the whole world.
Yeah, best feeling in the whole world. Like, if you can put on a dry puffy, like you might have to take off all your other layers, and maybe if you did have to kind of sacrifice the mid layer and wear it because you were so cold and that's all sweaty, that's fine, but you'll still have your like nice toasty hoodie. Oh man, it's so good. Anyway, so another reason synthetic is because it's much easier to wash. Like down, it really is a challenge to wash. Like you can end up like ruining it, or you just end up with like this disgusting down garment that like no one washes, which like is a pretty common thing. Like people literally carry a down jacket the entire thru hike, and it's like disgusting. This is another one. This is a Patagonia Micro Puff. So this is like a little bit, I don't know if it's a step up.
I think it's a little bit thicker.
Like maybe a little bit thicker. One thing to keep in mind too when you're buying stuff, like people tend to get hyper sensitive on weight. I would kind of strongly argue that mindset is probably going to be a little bit more important than the $700 you spend on a tent or whatever to save 6 ounces. If you just know, or maybe like a little more training and you can just carry it. But anyway, I understand that. And synthetic can be a little bit heavier, but also just consider that like the amount of insulation directly correlates with the weight. So like something like that is like super mega ultralight for a puffy isn't going to be as warm, like, because it literally just doesn't have like as much insulation. Like that's what's keeping you warm. So something to consider there. I find people kind of make that mistake and they're freezing. Like one of the major keys to like ultralight hiking, like true ultralight hiking, is fitness. Like if you're ultra fit, because then you don't have to stop on a freezing cold day when it's like raining, you can still just like hike 20 or 30 miles because you have that fitness. Now, you know, we all have different training plans, but some people kind of, I've noticed, tend to maybe do like a little or a lot less than they had planned, and you kind of show up out of shape. You can survive a thru hike like that, but if you take that approach, I would recommend carrying, it's more beneficial to carry more insulative layers, because you're going to have to be taking more breaks because you don't have that fitness level. So kind of keep that in mind. I know a lot of people like to talk on forums about like, I just showed up, I was out of shape, I finished it, you'll be fine. And I did that too, I'm not gonna lie. However, there are so many people that get off trail within the first 2 weeks that like never post on the forums. You know, it's kind of embarrassing. Like you save up and then you go and then you're off. So make sure, there's a lot of people, like the AT I think still only has a 25% completion rate. So all those 75% of people aren't talking. Anyway, so this is a good hoodie or a good puffy for when it's like a little bit warmer. Also, another good selection would be like, I really like the Arc'teryx. Like this is the Atom AR. For colder weather, I love this. For most like 3 season, like the AT, this is probably a bit overkill unless you're starting early. But this can be so happy and warm and wonderful. Oh, how I love you so. And or also like an Atom LT. I think this is called like the Atom Heavyweight now. But those are good synthetic jackets to consider. Again, they are going to be a little bit few more ounces than down, but like I said, being able to wash it and not destroy it, and having it not smell disgusting is good. And it is for sure true that that synthetic insulation holds like more warmth when it's a little bit wet. Like you don't want to use it as a freaking rain jacket, but it does work a little bit wet, like with a bit more sweat in it. You'll still get more warmth out of this. Downsides of synthetic, a little tiny bit heavier, and the insulation can get packed out a bit quicker than down. To be honest though, you can last a full through hike. That's not a big deal. So anyway, that's another example of that. As far as rain jackets, I'm going to talk about 2 different ones. First, I'll go with the super mega ultralight option. This is from Lightheart Gear. It's pretty cheap too. I think they're like 120, maybe 150 bucks, something like that. But they weigh almost nothing. But the thing about this Lightheart Gear rain jacket is it is completely 100% non-breathable. Like you hear about stuff that's waterproof, breathable. Like this is just completely. So what does that mean? All right. So here's my theory on rain jackets. You're either going to be sweating on the inside. So like this one traps in all your moisture. So you're getting soaked. But you're going to be hot in this because all that moisture is just built up. It can't escape, right? So that's like what these like waterproof breathable are kind of trying to do the opposite. They want it to breathe. But what happens in the extreme, like if you use this enough, it will wet out. What I mean is like all of these just use what's called a DWR coating, and that wears off and this will wet out. So you will eventually, water will start going through it and hitting you, and that's going to be cold because the rain is, unless you're in like a tropical area, is almost always going to be cold. So this one, you're going to sweat, and as soon as you put on, so it's going to kind of like suck in that way in some instances because you might not want to be so hot, but again, you'll stay warm because that water will not penetrate. This one can be a little bit cooler and nicer. However, it can wet through and fail. Like it's pretty much Gore-Tex. While it works to a certain extent, it's mostly a scam. Like all waterproof breathable like fails. There just is no perfect rain gear.
Well,
like
you gotta wash it too.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Reactivates the DWR. Yeah.
Yeah, and like re-DWR it, like because it will wet out. For me, honestly, I go between them. I tend to go with this one on something like the AT because again, I would almost rather just like a lot of times when it's raining, I almost take layers off so that they don't get wet and just have like shorts on. Again, you don't want to get hypothermia, but you have shorts on and you're just like, screw it, get my shorts wet, save my pants so I can put those on at camp and keep those dry. And then and then maybe even go down to like a t-shirt or whatever, or even like no shirt sometimes in a rain jacket, which sounds crazy, but it's like then that shirt is dry though too, because it's like
it's gonna take so long to dry on
everything. I mean, AT in particular, like nothing dries. It's like a lot of times you leave it out. It's so dramatically different. Like here or out west, it's like you can put something out overnight, even just like laying on the ground almost, and it'll like completely dry. Like sometimes within like hours, AT will like grow mold.
It's in like direct sunlight for 24 hours, it's not gonna dry.
100%. Yeah. So that becomes like, sure, you can carry more weight and stuff, but every single day that it rains, even if you're the best ever at moisture management, like you're gonna get slightly colder and slightly wetter like each day. So you have to kind of plan strategically. So again, there's no real good answer. I know people have real strong opinions. But I don't know. It's honestly, maybe dare I say it doesn't matter. Maybe you go for one of the cheaper, like waterproof, breathable, or again like this. But some people criticize this, the fully non-breathable, as just like you're just wearing a freaking garbage bag over your head.
I've seen people do that though, and they're fine.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
The biggest thing though is pit zips for me though, because even man, I'll have these open because at least you need something pouring out some of that. Even waterproof, breathable, it's not that breathable. Like it's not.
No, I was always sweaty.
Yeah, you're always sweating. So again, this is like the ultralight version. There's no real good answer. Anyway, so there is waterproof. Maybe we should make a separate video on that, talk about that more. All right, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about town clothes. So two options. I like to carry either, like most of the time I'll just carry like a basic just a basic t-shirt. I do like a tri-blend. It's nice and soft. Feel the softness. It's pretty soft.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's nice. And it's not like full cotton, you don't want to use cotton on most of it. But anyway, like I'll use this because this will be good. Sometimes I'll sleep in it in camp or and stuff like that because you get to take off your disgusting like base layer, which is like 100% going to be disgusting at the end of every day. And then you can just rock this to sleep in. You have something cozy and like fairly clean. And you can wear this kind of around town because like the perma-funk is like, oh man, it's gonna happen to your shirt. It's nice to not smell disgusting. Sometimes I go crazy and I'll bring like a full button-down shirt, like a synthetic. I know Elizabeth thinks I'm insane for this, but because I think it's funny, like to be able to pretend like I'm a normal citizen. Like if I don't have my backpack with me and I just have a button-down shirt, and it's funny in a lot of like mountain towns,
You're
like they're not exactly the most. Yeah, I'm cosplaying as a real person. Yeah. So because I find like, well, I do enjoy talking about hiking and obviously making freaking videos about it, but it's like sometimes it's good to like blend in, or it's almost funny to be like the random guy in a button-down. Like, why is there like a dressed up guy? Like, because sometimes
keep them on their toes.
Keep them on their toes.
Keep them guessing.
So anyway, those are my 4 billion words about all of my clothes.
Nice. Okay, now we're going to talk about bottoms. So first of all, I've got these hiking pants. They are Prana. I wore these the entire time. Started with them, ended with them. They held up really well for me. They're pretty comfortable. Yeah, I think the only thing that kind of bothered me about it was like the tie on the inside. So it has like 2 buttons, a zipper, and then a tie. And sometimes this was like a little bit uncomfortable just with like where my pack hit and like where this was tied. So I had to like make sure it's like properly adjusted, but like I don't know, that's just backpacking. Like you just have to be like adjustable.
I have a question about Prana pants.
What's your question?
So I love Prana pants. I really love them. I wear them all the time, like in regular life. Prana Zion pants are like my favorite pant. They're so freaking comfortable, and they kind of pass off as like a non-hiking pant, but maybe they don't. I don't know. But and they like you can like pull them off at work and stuff. But and I do love them for like cold weather, but I find them kind of hot. I don't know. I don't know. It's just that one style, the Prana Zion. But did you have the same experience?
I would not wear them like in the summer.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Not at all. Because they warm up really quickly. Yeah. But they do like layer really well as well. Like if it is kind of chilly, especially like I think in the whites, like I was wearing like leggings like with the pants on top in case I wanted to shed a layer.
So you kept those the whole way though?
Yep.
Okay. And how much did you wear them, you think?
I'd say the first month on trail, I wore them pretty consistently. And then the entire summer it was warm and I didn't
When did you start again?
April 20th.
Okay. When did you finish?
September 13th.
All right. 420.
420.
All right.
Yeah, that's right. And then I wore them a lot up north, but like kind of in the middle section.
Okay.
1,000 miles, I did not really wear them at all. And
in town or anything?
I wore them in town, like.
You kind of save them as the one clean thing. Yes. Would you sleep in them ever or no?
No, not really, unless like everything else was wet.
Okay.
And it was kind of nice.
Yeah.
Like I would sleep in them, but usually this was what I was wearing to get wet in.
And again, notice that theme about like saving some dry stuff though, or being like
have one thing.
Everything gets wet, but if everything gets wet, you're like, oh, but I have my pair of like Pranas. Exactly. It's like worth its weight in gold so nice sometimes. Yeah. And then you're like, toasty warm.
Yeah. Okay. So then moving on to the leggings. These are a pair of Lululemon leggings I've had since I think middle school. Like
nice.
Super durable. They've over a decade old at this
That's
point.
Incredible.
And like I don't know, they're like meant for athletics, so these were nice to have to sleep in especially.
Okay.
Or to wear in town if I
Would you hike
needed.
in them?
Sometimes, yeah, not really until up north when it got colder.
Okay, so that's more cold, and you would hike
Yeah.
like in only those kind of. Okay.
Yeah, so I would just like, I didn't want to put shorts on in the morning. It was like
But you're
freezing.
saying sleeping a lot of times and
Sleeping and then sometimes hiking. Like
Okay.
I don't know, they also dry like relatively quickly. I don't know.
Okay.
And yeah, easy to wash. Like I think technically Lululemon leggings you're supposed to not put in the dryer, but like everyone does that anyway. I don't know.
You put yours in the dryer?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're fine. I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, they're kind of nice. They have like these pockets on the sides, which are really helpful. Like I could throw my phone in there if I needed
Okay.
to, or like snacks I could throw in here. And then yeah, like they have this little elastic on the bottom that was nice to like keep your. They didn't like ride up ever or anything.
Cool.
The only annoying thing about hiking in leggings in Maine is that it's super muddy. So
Really?
these were like always dirty. Like
Oh
constantly
yeah.
covered in
Or
mud.
like excuse you, like if you're not like stepping in mud, you're scraping your shoes
Yeah,
on them, and you just have like
exactly.
those brown
Yeah,
stains
just like
on them.
streaks.
Okay.
So like I don't know, but that also just comes with through hiking. Like you just accept the fact that you're disgusting.
Yeah. True.
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, any pair of leggings will do.
That's a pretty good review though. Lasted over 10 years. Like,
Yeah, dude.
those are expensive, right? On the
They
legging
are,
scale,
yeah.
like right, but
I was like eighth grade maybe got these and was like stoked.
but
about
that's
it.
amazing though.
And
They
now-
like last that
yeah,
long.
yeah.
That's awesome.
And then they did the whole AT.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to shorts. I started with this pair of Patagonia baggies. They lasted the whole way. That's not true. I sent them home for the summer because I had a different pair of shorts. But I think for the most part, like all of up until like mid-Virginia, I
Yeah.
think, and then I had them sent back. I think in I don't know, sometime in Vermont. Or
Any
something.
downside? Do you get any chafing or anything? Do they
No,
have a built-in liner?
They don't have a built-in liner. The elastic was a little bit annoying. That's why I switched to these guys.
Okay.
Because it just, for me personally, like it was like too thick, like where my hip belt was sitting.
And what brand are those?
These are Patagonia.
And what brand are the ones you switched to?
Cotopaxi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So these have like a thicker waistband, and that seemed to work. Like it's a little bit flatter, and I think these are also like a slight bit longer, so that was nice in the summer, like to prevent chafing and stuff. But I mean, either of these worked. I liked both of them. These just got kind of like, you can kind of see they're like really dirty on the backs now.
Did your legs get super cut up, or did you get like ivy or any like reactions from stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I got poison ivy. I got like, you're walking through briars and stuff. Like, yeah,
But whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Totally never tempted to put on pants?
In the summer?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I would so much rather be cooler than.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly. And yeah, no, both of these worked. I liked both of them. They held up really well. I would still wear them to this day.
Okay.
Yeah. Trying to think of anything else.
Did you have like no rain pants?
No rain pants.
No rain skirt?
No rain skirt.
So like, did you get a lot of cold weather in Maine and it rained? And you would just get one of the pairs of get the shorts wet, just save something dry at camp?
Yeah.
All right.
Toughed it out.
Hardcore.
Yeah, or I would put on the leggings.
And you
if I was
never
really
got
cold.
super cold?
Of course I got really cold, but I mean, I just dealt with it. I don't know.
Just keep hiking or
Yeah,
whatever?
you just keep moving forward.
All right. And
Yeah.
anything else?
Okay, yeah, so I'll just briefly mention underwear. So I had 3 pairs of the Patagonia like synthetic quick dry underwear that they sell for girls. I recommend having more than one pair of underwear because it is like, you be prepared for the worst on the trail. Like you don't know what's gonna happen.
You're always eating different food at different restaurants.
Your
digestive.
body, it does not. Your body's out of whack all the time. Like.
There could be things that happen to your digestive system that do not happen to you in regular life. Sadly, on a
norovirus is rampant out there.
Yeah, there's like a lot of potential. So I agree completely. Bring spares, at least
you never
one.
know. Yeah, you could randomly get your period. You could like get caught in a rainstorm and then you're soaking wet. You don't want to be wearing wet underwear. You don't want to be wearing no underwear.
That all-you-can-eat buffet. Maybe one of the dishes you ate is like few days too many old, and you'll feel that when you start hiking.
Yeah, anything could happen.
Yeah,
truly.
absolutely.
So, I would say like I had 3. I had 2 that I would kind of like alternate on trail, and then 1 for town. And like with underwear, you can just flip it inside out and use it, so it's 2 pairs technically. You know.
Cool.
But yeah, bring more than 1 pair of underwear is my advice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm going to talk about the bottoms that I wore on the trail. First up, I'll just talk a little bit about belts. I have found arcade belts are pretty sweet. I really like them. They clip in really easy and clip out. I don't know. I've never had one break. It does scare me a little that there's like a thing that like could break on it. So I don't know. Sometimes some of those just like cinch belts are fine too. Like just a nylon belt. Like try to get like a small one really so it's less in the way. It can work well. You might be able to start without a belt, but a lot of people end up, a lot of guys anyway, end up losing a lot of weight when they start hiking. So a belt becomes a necessity. And of course though, with a belt, like you can always like improvise with a piece of rope or something too. I mean, it might not be ideal, but like if you find you like lose a bunch of weight and you like your pants are falling off, you know, you can find a piece of string or rope from somebody to do that. So anyway, so that's belt. Pants, you know, I was talking how I love the Prana Zion pants for like normal life, and they're like super comfortable, or when it's really cold, like in winter I'll wear them. But usually I rock like, this is like weatherproof vintage brand or something. I usually just rock like the $20 ones you get at Costco or whatever. You can get them at like Sam's Club, even like Walmart. They're really just nylon hiking pants, and they're like a little bit stretchy. They're cheap. Like I said, there are like all outdoor companies kind of offer these in some like variant, you know, but they tend to be more expensive. I find like the cheaper ones tend to have like about the same durability as the more expensive ones. So I just literally mostly rock just like the Costco ones when they're on sale. You can literally get them for like $13 sometimes. And they work fine and they're comfortable. I do tend to wear pants like most of the time for most of my hikes. As I mentioned, it was funny. I mentioned that poison ivy story. Where the woman was like, go to the ER immediately. But it was so funny because I was like so hot. There was like this crazy heat wave. I was in like New York or New Jersey or something. It was like the heat index was like 115 degrees. It was so humid. It was absolutely insane. So I was like, I have to switch to shorts. And then after like 3 days, I get like ER level poison ivy. You know, it was pretty funny. They were laughing at me at the like when I did go to the urgent care clinic or whatever, you know, but I got my everything turned out all right. Pretty funny though. So anyways, I just rock these. I do also always have a pair of shorts. I'm kind of random. I mean, these are like Adidas, but I just like kind of go and like, just like, what gym shorts do I have? I have tried carrying like some, like, I think I carried some like Prana shorts. I actually did really like those because they had pockets in them. They were nice for town and stuff, like carrying my wallet and whatnot. Random tip on carrying a wallet: if you carry some of your stuff on you at all times and then some of your stuff in your pack, if something happens to either one, you still have the other one to go to. But anyway, that's a random
that's good advice for normal life too.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
Keep a credit card at home.
Yeah, don't bring all your stuff on you. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. Yeah. So anyway, you just want something like synthetic, like quick drying. These are not the most popular. I tend to prefer something like quite a bit longer, something more similar to like Elizabeth, which a lot of people wear. Like there's a lot of like you know, guys and girls that'll wear like really just like super short like shorts, or like those Patagonia ones and stuff are like super popular. Like hers are more popular. I just prefer like a little bit longer short. I think it's because I'm 6 foot so tall or whatever. I don't know. Short shorts just don't suit me, sadly. Maybe I'll maybe next season.
You can grow into them.
All right. So anyway, but it's good also though. Like a lot of times I don't hike in them, but again, like it's something you can keep dry. Like I said, sometimes when it rains, I'll actually take my pants off and wear these all day because I know everything's gonna get wet. I'm gonna be wet and cold regardless. But if it's like only this gets wet, then at camp I can put on my pants and that'll be warmer for sure than this pair of shorts. Also, like good for doing laundry in or just walking around town, or you know, you know, maybe if you get invited to go on a yacht or something, you have a bathing suit.
You never know.
I really haven't been invited to go on many yachts, but if you're out there, I'm ready. Also, pretty much just rain pants. I will rock rain pants as it's kind of the same thing as the rain jacket. Like I do have a pair of like Light Heart gear. That's not these. This is just like Marmot or something. These are actually like a little bit too hardcore. I use these a lot in winter because they have like a full zipper all the way down. It can be really nice for winter because you can wear like a thin pair of thermals under them and like have super venting. But to be honest, I typically wouldn't wear these too much. I like to go a little bit lighter just because the full zip adds a bit more, but I usually do have a pair of generic snow pants. I find like the AT can mostly get away with it because the temperatures and stuff, but a lot of times, like, you know, if you're in like the Sierra and and it's like a big snow year, or you're kind of early, like leaving Kennedy Meadows, like something like this can be super valuable because you just have one more layer. You're going to be like post holing a lot, getting a lot of moisture. So a pair of rain pants can be pretty valuable. But as we kind of discussed before, and like the tops, they do wet out. You know what I mean? And it can just be another layer. Again, I can also just wear these, like maybe just a pair of underwear under these, and just like if it is raining, so that everything else stays dry. And there are some awesome, like Light Heart Gear makes some too. You know, a lot of people use frog togs as well. My experience with frog togs has been like fairly terrible. I find their like durability like terrible, but a lot of people do like them too.
One of the guys in our group had a pair of frog togs and he cut them into shorts when they started falling apart.
Okay.
And then they worked again.
Yeah, I could see that. So that's like a cheaper alternative option to consider. But I do carry the traditional pants. And then I don't have an example, but I do also carry typically like a very like lightweight pair of thermals, because again, that's something you can like use as an emergency. You have a dry layer, or it's just like freaking cold, you know, and it rained for like 5 days. So like on that 5th day when it's really cold, maybe you still have your thermals that are mostly dry, so that can be nice. You can also wear those as like in like when you're doing laundry or something, you know, maybe you don't necessarily have to clean those, and it's like. You know, some people push the boundaries like pretty hard in the laundromats, but I'm not quite as, I don't know. So you can wear those doing laundry, or like just a good layer when it does get cold, but that kind of depends. Like when it's on the colder side, I'll bring them. If it's on the warmer side, I typically won't. So those are bottoms.
Okay, now we're going to talk about some like random accessories and then move into footwear. So the random accessories I have brought with me are a fanny pack. I did not get the fanny pack until over halfway. Everyone in our group got one kind of at the same time because we thought it would be funny, but then it actually ended up being super helpful. So things I would put in the fanny pack were like sunglasses, phone, AirPods, snacks. Sometimes I'd shove my hat in here if I like would take it off and like want to put it in here. In town, it was super helpful to have like a little bag to like carry stuff around in, because my other option was my giant backpack. So it was nice to like have this to put my like wallet and phone and random things in, just to have in town. And then when I was wearing it during the day, I would just put it around my waist and then put it over the like hip strap in the front.
Did you find that to be like annoying or cumbersome or anything? So you're doing your hip strap and then you're putting that on?
This first.
Like that first.
Yeah.
But it ever get tangled, or like
No, honestly, no. Like
really?
It stayed in place pretty well.
Okay.
Like it didn't really shift
and
around.
No annoying like just extra straps or anything?
No.
Okay.
I mean, not really. Like you can tuck, these have the little like bands you tuck the like ends into. And yeah, you just like, it was a little weird at first, but I just kind of got used to it, and then it was like super helpful to have. I don't know. I know some people also like hate having a fanny pack. I think it's just personal preference, but I really liked mine a lot.
Yeah, I could see it being like super handy in town.
Yeah.
Because then you can just have it and like wear it over your shoulder or something. Is that what you said you did, or you wore it around? Okay.
Yeah. And I put medicine in here sometimes. Like when I had poison ivy, I was like constantly reapplying the like itch stuff.
Yeah.
So that was really helpful to just like have it accessible. I didn't have to like take off my bag every time I wanted to do that, or like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Other like feminine hygiene products and stuff in here as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Next up I have gloves, which I used like basically this pair of gloves, like a super lightweight liner kind of like athletic kind. So these were super helpful when it was very cold outside. So like in the Smokies, in the Whites, in Maine, these were really helpful to have. And I tried not to wear them too much, like kind of save them for when it was like especially really cold, because I don't know, it was like I wanted to keep them dry and like usable. There were like a couple days in the Smokies where it was so cold and like verging on the like really like hypothermic type kind of cold, and these were really helpful then. In the summer, obviously, I didn't really use them as gloves. I did use them as like extra padding for my pack, because I had like negative body fat by that point. So is like my pack was really digging into my hips. So I put them in the sides of my shorts.
And you never lost them or anything?
Nope.
That's good.
Never. Yeah, I like went swimming with them on accident once, found them. Yeah, no, it like weirdly worked really well. So like, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of nice to like have random things that you can use for random things.
Hip belt padding.
Hip belt padding. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
Cool.
Gloves. And then, okay, so for footwear, basically what I wore was like this pair of Smart Wool socks right here. I used this pair for a while. I used a pair of Darn Toughs for a while. Darn Toughs are really nice because they have the exchange thing, so you can like go into pretty much any outfitter and like exchange them for free if your socks are disgusting or have holes in them or ruined and you need a new pair. Like they'll just exchange them for free. So I think the thing is like you have to buy Darn Toughs once ever and then like you
Darn Tough is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess their whole thing is like, if as long as some certain percentage of people don't keep returning them, like they make money, and they. But oh man, through hikers, I can't imagine they make any money.
They would just be like, leave them outside,
That's
and we'll
so
give you
nice.
a new pair.
So nice of you.
Yeah, super cool.
I think Smart Wool actually has a lifetime warranty too, but I don't know if they like exchange them as often or something. Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah.
Sorry, we'll try to figure that out and put some comments below.
Sure. But yeah, when I wasn't wearing these, I was wearing Injinji socks, which are the toe socks that are very popular on the trail, because I had really bad blisters, and those really help with like preventing rubbing between like your toes, and like overall did a really good job of like preventing my blisters. I'm not totally sure exactly like the science behind that necessarily, but like once I switched to the Injinji socks, I had much fewer blisters. They also make liners. A lot of my friends use the liners in addition to the Darn Toughs, so it's just kind of like an extra layer of like
the Injinji toe socks with
like the liner with the Darn Toughs on top, and really like that, just like another protective layer to prevent friction and stuff.
Okay.
I did throw all of the Injinjis away because they were kind of gnarly at the end.
I'm
I
sure.
didn't really want them anymore, but I would buy them again.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And then for shoes, I used the Topo Terraventure 3, like the women's trail runner.
The entire way?
No, I started with a pair of Obos, low cut. I can't remember the name of them.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We didn't like the Obos though?
I did not love the Obos.
How long did you keep them for?
About 400 miles.
Okay. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they were not great for my arches. Like my arches kind of collapsed a little bit, and not great for blisters either. That's just like a personal preference. I don't know. I know people who like their Obos, but I needed like a little bit of a wider toe box and something like a little bit lighter weight, I think. So I really liked the Trail Runner. Everyone that I was hiking with used Trail Runners, whether it was ultras or Topos, and yeah, I used the first pair of Topos I got for 900 miles, I think, and then got the exact same version and just switched them out and used those for the rest of the trail.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about camp shoes?
Yeah, I had a pair of Bedrocks.
Okay.
Which are like the adventure sandal, whatever, and I don't know, like they're a little heavy, I guess, but like I really like them. They're great for town. Like, especially when I had blisters all over my feet, like super nice to not have to like put them in like Crocs or something. Like it was nice to like put them in just like a
And you carried those the whole way?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And you're happy you would do that again?
Yeah, for sure. I really like those.
What about did you put any insoles in your shoes at all, or just with what they came with?
Nope, no insoles. I used what's the tape? KT tape.
Okay.
I used that. Especially when I was having arch issues, like I would just like wrap my feet, like wrap the arches, but I'd never used like an insert or anything. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. What about did you say how many miles? You said the Obos lasted 400 miles. What kind of mileage were you getting out of the others?
900, and then whatever 400 plus 900.
Wow.
Yeah,
At 900, how were they looking? Was it fine?
I mean, they weren't bad, honestly. Like they were like a little bit, like the tops were kind of like falling off a little bit, but yeah, no, like honestly not. Like I think I just maybe I took really good care of them or something, but they like were holding up.
And what about the ones at the end that were 400? Were those like it still like had a lot of life in them, or?
I mean, I still could have used them. It was so much muddier and wetter up north, so they got like more wear and tear. Like we're just constantly covered in mud and like wet. but still functional. Yeah, like there was like, I don't know, the ones that I used after 900 miles were like smooth on the bottom. Like they were not getting great traction anymore.
Yeah,
But
I bet.
yeah, no, then the other pair worked really well too. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's everything for me.
Cool. All right. All right. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about accessories. Not too many, really just gloves and then footwear. So typically, I would carry, on most trips, I'll probably carry like 3-season backpack. I'll probably carry 2 pairs of gloves. Really just a basic like liner. I think I got these pair of heads for like $10 or $15 or something. I mean, they're really basic. Like, I don't think it matters too much. There's just some insulation, kind of similar to yours. Maybe these are like slightly thicker, but not really even. So just some like basic gloves to wear, and then that are not waterproof. And then the other pair of gloves that I pretty much always carry because they almost weigh nothing would be it's like some sort of waterproof mitts. REI makes these. So basically I can wear either these by themselves, just kind of keep water off of my hands if it's like really cold, especially with like hiking poles. I find it to be nice. Or kind of layer them together. So you can have these on and then put them in here. And then like, so these with the waterproof layer actually creates like a pretty warm glove. Now, if it's getting significantly colder, like if mornings are going to be like in the teens every day and there's going to be a lot of time, like it kind of, then you start getting into trade-offs. Like, am I going to just carry a heavier sleeping bag and a heavier, like puffy, or what am I going to do? But for your hands, like, because it can be really important, again, especially if it's going to rain and it's really cold, like the AT kind of on those shoulder seasons can be freaking cold. Sometimes I will have like a third pair. So like these are mittens. These are like waterproof mittens. So again, it's like the same thing. You can combine them all, right? I could have the liner gloves and put those inside of the mitt and then put all of that. So you might want to consider sizing up if you're going to do something that's like inside there. And then like, again, if it does get a little bit warmer, you could maybe get rid of the thicker mitt. And these are like North Face mitts I bought somewhere along my adventures. Or sometimes if it's just cold, you can just wear these by themselves and kind of go that route. But it's really important to keep your hands and feet warm for sure. Again, those shoulder seasons on the AT can get like that hypothermic, like I'd almost rather have it be 15 degrees because then typically if there's precipitation, it's snow and it won't soak you. It'll just be snowy versus like 35 to 45 and raining.
The freezing rain
is absolutely terrible because it's like you're about as close to freezing like as you're going to get, but it's before it turns to snow, but you're still getting drenched. So like just be careful and like mindful. If you do feel yourself getting towards like those first symptoms of hypothermia, like things are starting to go numb, you should like really consider just setting up your tent and like getting on in, even if you didn't make the miles you considered, because it would suck to have some sort of like something really bad happen due to exposure. Anyway, so just keep that in mind. Also, when you are cold and your hands are numb, it can be really tough to to put up your tent or take down your tent, do all those like minuscule tasks, and you almost want to like give up, but it's like, no, you should like get your stove going.
It's like the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah, your hands can be so freaking numb. So anyway, that's really just gloves for me. Again, usually don't carry all 3 pairs, but if it is a colder trip, I will. Better than carrying like one heavy pair because then that'll be like too hot most of the time. Or I mean, really a safe bet for most trips though would be like the liner gloves of some sort with like the waterproof mitt because these weigh like nothing. So that's gloves. Now on to footwear. Same thing really as Elizabeth. Like I feel like Smart Wool, darn tough. I don't notice like too much of difference. Like I definitely do for like wool socks. So like I have tried doing like the weird blends or just try like cheaper socks. I've kind of had like a personal challenge to myself to like just always buy the different brand of socks, like Wigwam or like everything, just to see like, do I notice any difference? And after like several years of doing this like fairly actively, I really notice almost no difference at all. However, I will say that Smart Wool, Wigwam and Darn Tough like go towards the top.
Yeah.
And I would say Darn Tough kind of gets the win.
I think sometimes Smart Wool is like a little too thick.
Yeah.
And if they get wet and then you're like walking all day, like it's just not good. It's not fun.
They do have those like PhD, like real thin ones and stuff
That's
too.
true, yeah.
But
just make sure you don't get too thick wool socks.
yeah,
It's no good.
No, that's true. And then one other thing I want to mention just before we get into footwear is it's like so personal. Like everything. Like there's a billion opinions about gear. I would like after doing so much hiking and seeing like what people start and finish with, like number one, people have a tendency to think what they have and works for them will work for everyone else, which really isn't always true. And then also, like it does, like lots of people can complete the trail with like lots of different kinds of gear. So like people do think, oh, my gear's the best, but it's like, man, a lot of people, if you're really paying attention, you can complete it with like a lot of different stuff. So like I wouldn't worry too much about most stuff. Like you can't go super wrong. However, footwear is one of those where you just kind of have to like, maybe you'll get lucky and buy the right thing, but you can also like fail, you know, like a lot of people like, so I'm kind of different on most things if you guys haven't noticed yet. But footwear is also like the only time I've ever gotten a foot injury is when I tried trail runners. So like, I don't know, I'm just like too big a guy, or I don't know, like the way I step or maybe the way my foot is shaped. Like I like something just a little tiny bit heavier and like a little tiny bit more durable, and like that's what works for me, right? So some people might think like, oh, that's crazy, how can you not use a running shoe? But then like again, you meet me and I like love these. So anyway, with that said, I really just rock like the Merrell Moabs. Like I think they're on to, it's like Merrell Moab 2 or Merrell Moab 3, I forget, whatever it is. These might be the original ones actually. I forget, but all of them work. You can get them in wide sizes, which I find is awesome. Like I always get wide, like, and that really, really helps me. And I don't really have too big a preference either. Like these are the low tops, but I will also like rock the hard tops. Like these can be really nice with a little bit like more like snowy condition, like through the Sierra or something, because they have a little bit stiffer sole. I have tended to get a little bit more durability out of the high top ones. I don't know whether they kind of have like the high heel like thing in the back or whatever, so maybe there's more rubber to wear as a result of that. But it's kind of been all over the place. Like for the most part, I start feeling them a little bit and like kind of thinking about it about like 500 miles in, but I have had a couple pairs that have lasted like near 1,000 miles. And then also be prepared, because sometimes you can just freaking be somewhere and like kick a rock and like you'll literally get like a cut in the front of your shoe that will grow like almost instantaneously. You can try to sew it and stuff, or just some shoes just seem to randomly fail, like with glue and stuff on the bottom.
Like the Topos that I use, like without fail, this thing on the front came off within like a week.
Yeah.
Like, and it wasn't an issue necessarily. It was just like, it didn't.
Exactly.
Stay.
Oh, that's another like really good point, because you can also just trip on this and then like you'll do it. Or you'll just do it wrong and then like the whole front of the shoe can rip off. It's not necessarily like the shoe manufacturer, just sometimes you get unlucky. Like, but again, like footwear is so specific. One other thing I want to talk about is I do like always put in a different, you probably can't see it because of the green screen we have. But I always do try to put in, you can see the moose. But I use this Smart Feet green. Like a lot of people argue, the green ones are for like the highest impact. A lot of people argue that like pretty much all insoles that come with shoes like aren't that good, so you can just replace them with effectively anything, like any Smart Feet. Like but these have a lot of, like, I kind of have high arches, so this has a lot of arch support, and I think just because I am a little bit heavier than some people, like it's just a better overall like insole for me. But again, this, like, your mileage may vary on this. Like I just feel so lucky. I really haven't had many foot issues, except that one time I had a stress fracture when I wore trail running shoes and learned like that just doesn't work for me. But just be aware that like you're really gonna have to work out your footwear, and this is something you can for sure start on earlier than the trail though too. Like you can see if they at least, like if you do those hikes, like
I would recommend doing that.
Like 100%. Like we mentioned this earlier in the video, but again, a lot of people like talk about how just show up, it'll work out fine. Like there are tons and tons of people, like if you're paying attention and you go slow at the beginning, that you'll see that get off trail within like a couple weeks. And a lot of times it's because they're pushing themselves too hard. They didn't train at all, and they just get a repetitive motion or like injury or some other like shin splints. And they maybe don't have enough money to like take tons of 0 days in town. It's like you either better have a lot of time and money so you can waste it in town and be able to go really slow. Or, I mean, your best bet for sure is to train. And even if you can't get backpacking or whatever, you can 100% like do squats at your house, find something.
Yeah, go for a walk.
Yeah, go for a walk.
With a backpack on.
With a backpack on. You can have a cooler. Maybe you can do step ups on. You don't even need a cooler. You can just put some cinder blocks or like a wooden block or something. But like that will help you so much more than everything else. I know all the people online that post I started and it worked out for me. Like that's great, but there's so many other people that never post that probably like got off trail within a few days because they like footwear is super important and like just being strong, like because you'll just end up going home.
Yeah, just testing your gear, but like do like a shakedown trip, make sure like everything works. Especially shoes, I feel like that's a really big one.
100%.
Yeah, like the shoes I started with were too small. I got blisters.
Yeah.
And then I didn't like them, and I got new shoes.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was not a fun like first few weeks on trail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it can also be like a hidden expense. I mean, another thing I know we're getting into other topics here, but like, man, something that get you off trail fast is not having enough money. Like I know hiking a trail is expensive, but you're much better off just having a little bit of extra money. A lot of people too at the end, like or maybe you think like on trail, like, oh, I'll be able to think about what I'm going to do the whole time. I haven't met a single person who has like truly thought and then executed on a plan. Mostly you end up a little bit more confused, and it's in the transition back, like while it's an incredible experience, the transition back to regular culture can be a little weird, and it might be like beneficial to have a little bit extra money, not only to like be able to replace your shoes and stuff like that for like ones that don't work, but like also at the end have a little bit of a nest egg, like if you can at all possibly, so that you can like figure out what you want to do in life and not have to rush into something you don't want to do because you're like desperate for money.
Give yourself some time to readjust. Yeah.
100%. Lastly, camp shoes. Sometimes I bring these, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'll just like get in my tent, and like it doesn't matter. Like, do I need camp shoes? Just wear your shoes and it's fine. Other times though, man,
it feels so good.
I love camp shoes. Like it can be so nice, even just for like showers, or like some places make you take your boots off when you go in somewhere. And I am not really like a barefoot person. Are you?
Yeah,
oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool, but I'm not at all. So like I really like this. Like if I'm going swimming or something, like I'll like rock the Crocs.
You swim in the Crocs?
Well, like I'll bring them in if I'm like wading in, and then like hold them or something like that.
Yeah.
But I love these like at camp, or if I take like a long break in the middle of the day, I'll just like throw these on and lounge out, let my feet air out. One other thing I wanted to, these are kind of heavy though, so it kind of depends though. Like I feel
those are intense.
That's where we live on trail. Intense. Exactly. No, but I know these are big for sure, but I love Crocs. Of course, I wear size 13s. So they're enormous, and these are like the off-road. The off-road ones would actually weigh the same.
You could hike in those.
Yeah, I've seen people. I don't like to hike in them,
Yeah.
but I also like them in town. I feel like, because you're not walking a ton, I feel like it kind of works like different muscles in your foot kind of, and maybe I can give some credit to my fairly good foot health to carrying camp shoes. I don't know. But I do really love them most of the time, to be honest. It feels so nice. You can just put like socks in or just wear them like without socks, and they're pretty awesome. One other thing I want to mention about footwear is waterproof. There's this huge argument like that still is prevalent, like that you want waterproof shoes. But I would argue like for the most part you don't. Like in the wintertime, if I'm hiking on snow, which like probably most people don't do, that's the only time I really like a waterproof shoe. The issue with a waterproof shoe is like, let's say this is Gore-Tex, it's not, but if it were, see this large area here where your foot goes in? That actually is impossible to be waterproof. That's actually a huge hole where water could enter. I don't know if you guys noticed this. So even if this whole thing is waterproof, that's a large hole at the top, in fact. So if water goes over this, or like it rains and it goes into here in waterproof shoes, the problem is the water does not escape. So your feet get like super, like you can potentially get like like trench foot and stuff. I have had trench foot once, and it was not a pleasant experience at all. My feet got huge, and they were like purple and disgusting and scabbed. But
That's some crazy lore.
I have photos, but I don't think I'm gonna post them on here or anyone to see. There's an alternative on the Continental Divide Trail in just south of Glacier National Park. You go into the Bob Marshall Wilderness, and there's this one alternate set called the Belly River alternate, and I swear you cross the river like 114 times or something in like 2 days, in like 30 miles or something. Like you get to a bridge after like the 30 or 50 whatever miles, and you're like, oh my god, a bridge! But like you literally, so like I had waterproof shoes, and I did like, and I was like, man, that was dumb, because like the river, and I don't know, I actually usually ford streams with my shoes on. I don't switch to my Crocs. Like I'll just get, because I find these have a lot more traction, and this is what I'm used to. Some people think that's crazy and would switch to their Crocs every time, but when you're crossing
so much work,
120 times, like, or whatever it was, is some insane amount. So I would be cautious against Gore-Tex. Like a breathable shoe is pretty good. But what did you use again? What brand?
Topo.
Yeah, the Topo is probably taking over as the most popular. Second most popular is still Ultra. The main complaint people have about Ultras, in my opinion, is durability. They fail like in the front.
And also the zero drop, like that's really hard on your Achilles and your knees. Like my friends who use Ultras like had terrible Achilles problems.
Really?
Yeah. Like the Topo gives you a little bit more support.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So those would probably be the two most popular, like by far. Like, and then you start getting into weirder stuff like Obos or like Merrells and stuff like this. I mean, I know these are really popular. Like you'll see them in all like day hikers and national parks and stuff. I mean, and I love them, but they're not really nearly as popular like on long distance hike trails for whatever reason.
Like, yeah, the Topos dry out super fast. Like you can put it in front of a fire, like within reason.
Yeah.
You don't want to burn them, but like,
that's always a scary game. Yeah.
But yeah, like they'll dry out really fast, or just like hang them up on a tree or something and they'll dry out.
Yeah.
For the most part.
So I think most important takeaways would be like pretty much don't get waterproof, and like shoes are super specific per person. So like if there's anything you can try out, like regardless of what your excuse is for not training, like you can buy shoes and like wear them, at least wear them walking around, wear them a ton at your house, because
don't break them in on the first
good like I get it. I mean, man, I've seen it go both ways. You can get lucky like sometimes and like, oh, you have beautiful weather, but you can also have like my first day, the last time I was on the AT at Springer Mountain was like 14 degrees and like 25-mile-an-hour winds. Like you do not want to be setting up your tent the first time and not knowing your like layering system like during that, you know. But I've also seen, like, I've done the PCT where like the desert, I've actually had both experiences, like where the desert, it was like perfect weather every day, and what that does is perfect weather doesn't necessarily teach you skills. It kind of gives you a false sense of confidence. So like you're like, oh man, I'm doing so good, but it's like, would you be doing as good if it started raining right now, or it was snowing?
Nice to be thrown in the deep end sometimes.
Just
for learning purposes.
Yeah, or I've had that where it's just like terrible on the PCT too, where it's like, oh my, you think like, oh, it's the desert, but it can be like snowing like every day for like a month in the desert, and you're like, what? That's not what I signed up for. Maybe I need to add a little bit extra. But anyway, so we'll get into that in other videos and stuff. But that pretty much concludes our head to toe clothing. Anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think so. We just yapped a lot. I think we covered a lot.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Please give us feedback. We have been hanging out and thought it'd be a cool idea to make these videos just with our experience to like help other people get out on the trail and get after it. So please consider liking or subscribing, or check out like Patreon or whatever you want to do, or none of the above. It's all good. But we'd love to hear a comment from anybody. If you have any suggestions for other stuff you want to hear, or pretty much anything.
Sweet.